Did you know that there is an entire district of Miami Beach overtly designed according to the principles of alchemy and Freemasonry, owned by one of the richest men in the world, created for the purpose of experimental cultural programming? The centerpiece of Miami Beach's Faena district is the occult-inspired, 5-star Fina Hotel, which opened in 2015. Among Faena's guests and permanent residents can be counted many of the wealthiest and most influential people in the world, not to mention the caliber of artists who perform in residency and regular exhibitions from the likes of Marina Abramovich. Everything at the Faena, from the interior artwork to its street address, is steeped with esoteric symbolism. But esoteric might not even be the right word to use, as all the symbolism at the Fina Hotel is very in your face. To put it plainly, the Faena is like the Denver airport of hotels. In 2017, the Fina Hotel was voted the #1 hotel in America, yet most people in Florida have never even heard of it. I recently had the privilege of spending an entire day at the Fina Hotel, and you won't believe just how many rabbit holes we found. I first heard of the Faena during the preparation for my ancient elephant video, after discovering that there is a one-of-a-kind, gold-plated skeleton belonging to a real-life mammoth, valued at $25 million on the property. And to speak of the devil, when we follow the money, the rabbit holes only go deeper and deeper. Make sure to stay tuned until the very end for all the little Easter eggs and an up-close view of some restricted areas. The views expressed in this video do not necessarily reflect my own. Now enjoy.
Welcome to Florida, baby.
Miami Beach's Fina Hotel takes its name from its founder, Alan Faena, who we'll talk about in a moment, but the word also happens to have a separate meaning to Freemasons and various other Hermetic orders. The Spanish word faena is defined in English as task, which can also be equated to the alchemical work or the task of the magnum opus, commonly referred to as the great work in English. In its common usage, Faena is the name given to the final passes of a Spanish bullfight, in which the matador slays the bull. The sacrifice of a bull, in general, holds many esoteric meanings, such as the transition from the age of Taurus to the age of Aries, or the soul's triumph over the material world. All symbolism aside, most world religions, with the exception of Christianity, engage in animal sacrifice right up until this day, and it has long been suspected that certain secret societies engage in rites of an even more barbaric nature. It just so happens some of the Florida Indians, who once inhabited these areas, were known to engage in certain types of human and child sacrifice. Just down the street lies the suspiciously titled community known as Bal Harbor, an affluent suburb of Miami Beach. Baal just so happens to be the deity to whom children were sacrificed in the Old Testament, but that'll have to be the focus of another video. The world-famous and historic Fontainebleau Hotel also happens to be right down the street, and here's what the marvelous Mrs. Maisel, a show on Amazon TV, had to say about the rumors of occult gatherings held there after World War II.
I really thought if we stayed long enough there'd be a human sacrifice.
Oh no, that's on Wednesdays.
Well, we'll just have to go back.
Anytime you like.
When it comes to esoteric symbolism, The location of Miami's Fena Hotel itself bears a great significance. The hotel is located where Collins Avenue, Miami Beach's central thoroughfare, intersects with 33rd Street. The number 33 itself is emblematic of Freemasonry, due to the fact that there are 33 degrees within the Scottish Rite, although the 33rd is an honorary degree. In terms of mythology and numerology in general, the number 33 is among the most significant. The human spine has 33 vertebrae. There are 33 deities in the Vedic pantheon, and Jesus Christ is believed to have been crucified at 33 years of age, just to name a few. Florida's birthday happens to be on March 3rd, or 3/3/1845. And nearly all of the zip codes in Southeast Florida begin with the digits 33. For those unaware, the state of Florida is actually somewhat of a mecca for Freemasonry, and even hosts the second largest number of Masons per state. Florida is also home to the headquarters for Shriners International, formerly known as the Ancient Arabic Order of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine, a society that runs adjacent to Freemasonry, known for their fezzes, which only admits men who have achieved the degree of Master Mason. Not far from Miami lies the world-famous Coral Castle, mysteriously erected by Latvian immigrant Ed Leedskalnin, which bears the initials CC, equating to 33, in nearly every system of numerology. Among the sites around the world which Freemasons are encouraged to make a pilgrimage to at least once in their lifetime, the Coral Castle ranks second behind the Great Pyramids at Giza. Considering the cost of a trip to Egypt, I'd wager that most American Freemasons settle for the trip to Florida. I myself have seen a number of Freemasons at the castle, and I'd be surprised if the Fina Hotel wasn't also on their radar. The first thing one notices when entering the hotel lobby, aside from the massive golden pillars, is the 8 murals adorning its walls. Starting at the front entrance and moving counterclockwise, the murals are titled Gnosis, Energos, Illuminatio, Amore, Scientia, Potera, Pax, and Revelatio, all of which are littered with occult symbols. Much like Colorado's Denver Airport, widely regarded as some type of Illuminati headquarters, Miami Beach's Fina Hotel is rather overt with its occult imagery, for reasons which we can only speculate. It also became evident to me that the hotel's unofficial theme is something along the lines of a paradise or Garden of Eden in Florida. All of the murals prominently feature animals which are either native to Florida to begin with, were recently introduced to Florida, or are exotic animals which one would expect to find in the Garden of Eden.
Our story really begins with the search for the mythical fountain of youth, but what is found instead is a land called
La Florida, in Spanish, means flower. It's a land of flowers and dreams. It's a place of new beginning.
natural place to be dreaming, to create.
To take a dream and to make it happen.
The word gnosis with a silent G is a Greek noun meaning awareness, from which we get the English word knowledge with a silent K. As opposed to intellectual knowledge, gnosis particularly refers to personal, intimate, or mystical knowledge, even that which is acquired from sex or psychotropics. Hence the liberal use of the phrase to know in the Bible. It is from the root word gnosis that we get the collection of religious ideas known as Gnosticism, which arose amidst the splitting of Christianity away from Judaism in the 1st century AD. Along with the number 33, one of Freemasonry's most recognizable symbols is the letter G, and though commonly believed to stand for God, geometry, or the generative principle, some Freemasons actually equate the letter G to the word gnosis, especially due to the fact that that G is silent, so to speak. The word energos is both Greek and Latin, having the meaning of active or effective, from which we get the English word energy. But when broken down into its parts, en meaning within, and ergos meaning work, it could also be interpreted to mean inner work. The word illuminatio is Latin for illumination or enlightenment, and therefore represents the same meaning as the equivocal Illuminati of conspiracy theory fame. Contrary to popular belief, there was in fact a real order known as the Bavarian Illuminati, founded in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, from whom many influential world leaders today descend. Within occult circles, illumination or enlightenment can represent a momentary experience, such as an epiphany or psychedelic episode, but also a trajectory or path of actualization, not unlike the so-called enlightenment achieved by the Buddha. Amore is the Spanish and Latin word meaning love, having many meanings and applications. The term can be used to represent sexual union, as in the word polyamory, but also the affection displayed between family members, as in the common expression mi amor. To the initiated, love does not simply mean romance or affection, but rather a universal force which is responsible for the creation of all things. Many people are familiar with the middle portion of notorious British magician Aleister Crowley's famous motto, "Do as thou wilt," but few are aware that it finishes with, quote, "Love is the law, love under will." The Latin word scientia or scientia means knowledge, expertise, or experience. It is the origin of the English word science, which means collective knowledge. Believe it or not, nearly all the founding fathers of what we consider science, with a capital S, flirted with the occult or spiritualism at some point in their life. For example, Charles Darwin descended from a Freemasonic family and was known to attend seances. Isaac Newton was a practicing alchemist, and Sir Francis Bacon, the inventor of the scientific method, was a Rosicrucian and practitioner of magic with a K. Not only has the word science been linked to seance, but also Zionism. It just so happens that the most influential scientists in the world are very often Zionists. Here's what Alan Faena, founder of the Fina Hotel, had to say about Israel.
Buenos Aires, we admire all the technology, the way of thinking, the way of develop the terrains and how the Israelis do it. So I think that is a big example for all the world, and to host this great mentality, the way of thinking in Faena and in Miami, in our home, is a big honor. So I'm pleased to have you and everyone here.
Thank you so much for hosting us. I'd love to ask you about, I've heard at the conference many people talk about how there's such a kind of seamless connection between Israel and Miami and Israelis, and and people here. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that fits so well?
I think that, I don't know, it's a good question. Again, I'm not from Miami. I discovered Miami 10 years ago, but I was like, wow. It's so, the connection between Tel Aviv and even Jerusalem in this area, you know, when you walk Shabbat around this area, is pretty amazing. You feel such a connection. I think that starts probably because of the weather. We have the same weather, and you know, we have, I believe, that way of living and enjoying that the good weather give you, no?
Right.
So I think that the old-time Jewish Israelis feel very comfortable in this land.
Judging from what Alan Faena, the founder of the Fina Hotel, had to say about Israel, I'd wager that he too is also a Zionist. The word poter is Latin, roughly translating to power or ability, and is the root from which we get English words like potency and potential. The word pater can also be linked to the word father, rendered something similar to pater in many languages around the world. I couldn't find much else about that word in relation to the occult, but it must have served as a partial inspiration for the character Harry Potter. Pax is the Latin word for peace, taken from the Roman goddess of peace. The title Conx Pax is a phrase said to have been pronounced in the Eleusinian Mysteries to bid initiates to depart after having completed the tests for admission to the degree of epopt or seer. The phrase is also used in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn's vernal and autumnal equinox ceremonies. Aleister Crowley's Conx Pax, Essays in Light, is a book about Hermeticism and magic that also uses the phrase in the title. Revelatio is a Latin word meaning unveiling, from which we get the English word revelation. Within Freemasonry, revelation is a stage or critical moment in the Masonic journey, where the initiate is entrusted with the so-called wisdom of the ages. Of all the books in the Bible, it is Revelation which penetrates deepest into the unconscious and demands some degree of occult knowledge to adequately decipher. If you'd like to see a symbol-by-symbol breakdown of the murals in the lobby, go check out the live streams I did with Mario Garza of Symbolic Studies. Link is in the description. So who exactly is responsible for the esoteric influences at the hotel? Well, like many things in Miami, the world-famous Fina Hotel had its origins in South America. Alan Roger Faena was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, on the 28th of November, 1963, to a Sephardic Jewish immigrant family from Syria. Alan followed in the footsteps of his father, Victor Faena, a wealthy textile manufacturer, by initially becoming a fashion designer, but later turned his ambition towards real estate. His first grand endeavor would be the Fina Hotel in his hometown of Buenos Aires, around 2004. Then the Faena Miami in 2015. Having authored books with titles such as Alchemy and Creative Collaboration and Architecture of Being, Alan Faena is more than upfront about his occult influences, as can also be seen throughout his Miami hotel. I was unable to ascertain whether he is a public member of any fraternal organizations, but it is evident that he has been familiarized with the principles of alchemy, Freemasonry, and their adjacent movements. Though Alan was rich to begin with, he early on partnered with the controversial billionaire Sir Leonard Blavatnik, best known for being the majority owner of Warner Music Group and one of the wealthiest men in the world.
And I think today we are recreating that glamour, but at the 21st century level. Something which doesn't really exist anywhere else in the world.
Leonard Valentinovich Blavatnik was born to a Jewish family in 1957 near Odessa, then a part of the Soviet Union. Together, the family moved to America in 1978, which allowed Leonard to attend both Columbia and Harvard University. It is said that Blavatnik made his initial fortune alongside many other Russian oligarchs after the collapse of the Soviet Union via the privatization of state-owned aluminum and oil assets. In fact, he has even been nicknamed the victor of Russia's aluminum wars. In 1986, Blavatnik founded the holding company, Access Industries Holdings, through which he would conduct the majority of his business ever since. In 2024, Forbes estimated Leonard Blavatnik's net worth at $32.1 billion, ranking him as the 52nd richest person in the world. As a political donor, Blavatnik has financially backed both political parties in every significant American election for the last 20 years, which I guess you could call the electoral equivalent of arbitrage betting or the Rothschild method. For example, in 2011, Blavatnik donated to both President Barack Obama and his GOP rival, Mitt Romney. In 2016, Blavatnik donated over $1 million to an anti-Donald Trump GOP group, but after Trump's victory, he went ahead and contributed towards his inauguration and subsequent legal defense fund. Blavatnik also donated to Democratic Party candidates Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, and Hillary Clinton. As one of the largest donors ever to the U.S. Republican Party, Blavatnik particularly supported the campaigns of South Carolina Congressman Lindsey Graham, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, and Arizona Senator John McCain, all of whom are widely regarded as warmongers and phony Republicans. In 2017, Blavatnik was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II for his so-called philanthropic pursuits. Blavatnik has also made immense contributions to Yale and Oxford, among other universities. The next thing one notices as you exit the lobby is a sculpture entitled Gone But Not Forgotten, created by the controversial artist Damien Hirst, who is pretty much the male version of Marina Abramovich, and they just so happen to be fond of each other. Gone But Not Forgotten is the impressive skeleton of a woolly mammoth standing 3 meters tall, placed in 24-karat gold and protected in a colossal glass vitrine with gold framing. The piece is part of the Natural History series, which began in 1990 with the now famous shark preserved in formaldehyde. The sculpture was donated by Hearst to help AMFAR in the fight against HIV, and is today valued at $25 million.
I'm here at the Fena Hotel in Miami, Florida, with a beautiful gold-leaf mammoth sculpture created by Damien Hirst. This irreplaceable piece of art is valued at over $25 million and practically sits right on the sand in South Beach. Because of the location, the sculpture is vulnerable to inclement weather, including potential hurricanes. Armor Screen was brought in to design a custom protection system that could be deployed at a moment's notice. Our design team created this superstructure to completely envelop the sculpture and protect it from the elements. Next time you're in South Beach, stop by the Fena Hotel and check this out. And if you have a business, residence, or a $25 million mammoth, call Armor Screen for a custom solution that's perfect for you.
not far from the Mammoth Sculpture, stands a brick oven in the form of another peculiar creature. All of my friends agreed that the creature was some type of cross between an owl and a pig, but in the style of a brazen bull, used in the ancient world as a torture device and vessel for human sacrifices. The pig was a preferred sacrifice to many gods, including Athena, who was herself symbolized by the owl, which may explain the hybrid creature. In keeping with the Garden of Eden in Florida theme, the hotel's outdoor restaurant is known as the Tree of Life. Not only is this a reference to the Book of Genesis, but also sacred geometry and the Kabbalah, a form of Jewish mysticism which Alan Faena is certainly familiar with. The Fena Hotel's own periodical goes by the name Aleph, taken from a Hebrew letter. The hotel's primary restaurant is named Pao, a word meaning many things in Chinese, but its logo is the nine-tailed fox, a mythical creature originating from Chinese mythology, capable of shapeshifting into a woman in order to seduce men into their mischievous schemes. I couldn't help but notice that some of the furniture at Pao was rather phallic. Within the restaurant, we find another sculpture created by Damien Hirst, consisting of a golden unicorn, exalted over a patch of earth, on which a number of golden apples, or heavenly orbs, lie scattered. The unicorn, entitled Golden Myth, was originally auctioned at a charity event against so-called climate change, hosted by Leonardo DiCaprio. In keeping with many of Hirst's other works, the unicorn is partially stripped of its skin, as if it were an anatomical illustration. Within occult circles, the horn of a unicorn primarily represents the activation of the pineal gland, also known as the third eye chakra, commonly associated with enhanced clarity and spiritual insight. However, the unicorn horn can also be representative of the male genitalia and the masculine principle. Historical depictions of the Garden of Eden often featured unicorns, and within Christianity, the unicorn has been used to symbolize Christ, the Virgin Mary, and the spiritual potential of man. It is difficult to restrict the unicorn to a single sign of the zodiac, but the horse on its own is the animal of Sagittarius, and Alan Faena, the hotel's founder, happens to be a Sagittarius. Golden apples are prominently featured in Greek, Irish, and Norse mythology, among others, and may have served as the inspiration for the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the Bible, or vice versa. That's the same fridge I have. That's the same fridge I have. That's the same fridge I have. On the back rooms. I wasn't able to gain access to the hotel's spa, but there are plenty of pictures online, and let's just say it's giving major Jeffrey Epstein vibes. The hexagonal stone in the center that looks like a sacrificial altar is actually what's known as a navel stone. But bathhouses like these have historically doubled as the settings for occult rituals like orgies and blood sacrifices. Don't believe me? Just ask Rasputin or Isaac Cappy. As grand as the Fina Hotel is on its own, it is only one piece of Miami Beach's Faena district, originally consisting of 7 components. Number 1. The Hotel Faena, a 5-star beachside resort, frequented by some of the wealthiest and most influential people in the world. The Fina Hotel today stands in the footprint of what was once the historic Saxony Hotel, Miami Beach's very first luxury hotel, and the first to have central air conditioning. Among the most lavish resorts in the country, the Saxony was frequently used by heads of state and featured rooms with glorious views and complimentary meals.
You go to 1947 and you have George Sachs, and he has a dream too. Out of this fertile place, he creates the first ever luxury hotel, the Saxony.
George Sachs, the founder of the hotel, may or may not be descended from the royal House of Saxe, as is John Saxer of Old World Florida fame. Then there is the Fina House, attached to the Fina Hotel, serving as a longer-term residence for the upper class, with condos ranging from $3 million to $22 million in price. Attached to the Fina Hotel and Fina House is the private beach known as the Fina Playa. Many outdoor events, New Age gatherings, and seemingly occult ceremonies are held on the beach. Right across from the hotel and condos stands the Faena Forum, including 2 grand exhibit halls, a rose marble amphitheater with built-in seating, and 5 additional meeting rooms. The Forum serves as a venue for weddings, conferences, banquets, product launches, concerts, eyes wide shut gatherings, and much, much more. Regarding this building, Alan Faena once said, quote, "I am proud that the Faena Forum can exist as a space for relevant and experimental cultural programming." End quote. Just north of the hotel and forum stands the Faena Bazaar, which serves as a retail space. Heading farther north, we have the Casa Faena, a smaller hotel with a more traditional Florida style to it. Lastly, there is the Faena Versailles, a condo development for which the plans have been indefinitely put on hold. In front of the Faena Forum stands a peculiar landmark, consisting of numerous occult symbols. Starting from the top to the bottom, we find a golden pitcher of what appears to be honey, judging by its insignia of a bee with a crown. But seeing as how the fluid is white and being drizzled onto a brain, I suspect it to be milk and honey, representative of cerebrospinal fluid, more specifically, the sacred Christos oil, crucial to the mechanical process of enlightenment. Considering what Alan Faena once said about experimental cultural programming, this could also be a symbol for brainwashing. However, this is not just any brain, for it is crowned with the white hat that Alan Faena is known for wearing, indicating the brain could be his. The brain seems to straddle a rainbow which rises from the clouds atop a brick and mortar castle, which also seems to be stylized after Alan Faena. In the Bible, the rainbow was a sign from God to Noah that the deluge was over and a promise that he would not flood the earth again. In Norse and Germanic mythology, rainbows were thought to be a bridge from Midgard, or Earth, to Asgard, the heavenly realms. The castle is nested within some type of a world tree, not unlike the Yggdrasil of Norse mythology. The branches of the tree reveal keys and wheels, which are used by Freemasons to symbolize the importance of secrecy and the wheel of time, respectively, and features the Freemasonic globe earth embedded in its trunk. From there, the trunk is rooted into a podium or altar, emblazoned with the winged wheel, a symbol dating back to ancient Persia. All of this stands atop a mound, on which are littered a number of roses. The fence surrounding this installation is tipped with what seem to be native Floridian-style arrowheads, or even the spear tips used to take down mammoths like the one encased in gold across the street. As of late 2024, Faena Group is currently planning to build a large condo building in the Brickell area of downtown Miami, branded as the Faena Residences. Given the ancient history of the Brickell area and other five-star hotels, which stand either directly on top or next to notable ancient sites, like the Miami Circle, we can assume that this project, too, will surely be linked to some ancient mystery.